Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of The Overtime, where we are going a little bit deeper on this Easter story that we talked about today. And by the way, happy Easter. He is risen. Our poem that I had kind of put together today talked about how we've got problems, we got debts, we don't know what's coming next. But Jesus came to fix it all, and by his grace, we will not fall. That is what the resurrection is all about. On Easter, God solved our greatest problem. He paid our impossible debt, and he secured our eternal future. So I'm going to press into those 3 points. First off, he solved our greatest problem. When Mary went to the tomb to anoint Jesus' body and prepare him for burial, she was just trying to find a very basic solution to the problem. His body ceremonially had not been prepared yet. So she was just trying to do that. She goes to the tomb early on Sunday morning and she discovers that he is not there. And so she thinks she had one problem, that Jesus was dead, and then she thinks she has another problem. Someone took the body. And then someone shows up and starts talking to her, and she thinks it's the gardener, and it turns out that it's actually Jesus. She thought she was going to fix a problem, but God had it all lined up way, way in advance. A lot of times in our lives, when we have problems, we want to be the fixers, don't we? I want to be the fixer to my problems, and it can be exhausting. But one thing that I can't fix and that you can't fix is we can't fix death. There is really no life hack for death. And by rising again, Jesus became the ultimate fixer of our ultimate problem by conquering death. Something else that's fascinating about the story of Jesus is what many people call the criterion of embarrassment. Historians use the criterion of embarrassment to determine if a historical document is true. And in the first century, during this time, a woman's testimony was not considered valid in a court of law. So think about it this way. If the disciples were making up a fake story, like if this was just made up, if they were making up a fake story about a resurrection to hopefully start a new religion, there is no way they ever would have included the testimony of a woman, especially seeing that first. It would have embarrassed them and it would have ruined their credibility in the first century. So God choosing Mary to be the first one to the tomb isn't just a beautiful concept. It's also a historical proof that this story could not have been fake. God flipped the world's power structure upside down through that story. So God fixed the greatest problem. Mary thought she was fixing something, but God fixed something so much bigger, and God does that for us. Now let's talk about the fact that we have debts. There's this Greek word, and it is called tetelestai. Tetelestai is the Greek word for it is finished. That is what Jesus said when he died on the cross. Archaeologists have actually found ancient tax receipts and bills on papyrus with that same word, tetelestai, stamped upon it. It means paid in full. When a criminal finished serving their time in prison, the same word would be nailed to their door. That way society knew that this criminal, they had paid their debt. Tetelestai, it had been finished. Earlier, I had shared a story about how, what if we were in debt, 7 figures to the IRS, and someone showed up and paid our debt? That's essentially what Jesus did by dying on the cross. So when he said it is finished, he paid our impossible debt, tetelestai. And speaking of debts and what we might owe, or even socially what we might owe, not even financially, to society, there's this concept in our world today called cancel culture, where if you do something or say something that fits in the cancel category, I mean, you could do all kinds of crazy, say all kinds of immoral things, but if you do anything that puts you on the cancel culture list, you're done. You're absolutely cooked. And in our world, If your problem is too messy, you're canceled. But get this, speaking of debts, on the cross, Jesus didn't cancel a person, he canceled the debt. So Jesus' cancel culture is literally canceling our sin debt if we choose to receive him. So this shifts this concept of blood sacrifice from being kind of strange in 2026. I mean, we don't handle a lot of blood unless we're butchers or we do a lot of hunting and processing of animals. We don't handle blood very much. So it sounds kind of strange to talk about blood. But now we're talking about blood as a currency that cancels our debt. And when we sin, Jesus, instead of canceling us, he cancels our debt. It's incredible to think about. So we've got problems, we got debts, and then the third thing, we don't know what's coming next. Do any of you get anxiety about what's coming up in the future? There is a phenomenon right now where over 70% of young adults are experiencing what many considered a quarter life crisis. So that is young adults in their 20s and their 30s. And therapists call the fear of what's coming next anticipatory anxiety. It's essentially grieving things that haven't even happened yet. And this comes from the social media phenomenon and all the information that we have access to in today's world. We do a lot of doom scrolling on our social media. We do a lot of worrying about the economy, about tomorrow's relationship status. You're in a relationship now, but what's it going to be like and how's that going to go? We think about tomorrow's career path. We think about where we're going to live. But the resurrection proves this. The very worst thing, no matter how much doom scrolling and having anticipatory anxiety that you have, the resurrection tells us that Jesus has power over the very worst thing that could ever happen. And the very worst thing in this life that could ever happen is death. And Jesus has already defeated death. So if God can handle the grave, he can handle our education, our scholarships, how much playing time we get on the field. He can handle your relationship status, even if it's complicated. He can handle your career transitions. He can handle your finances. And Jesus is more than capable of handling your unknown future. This is a lot more than optimism. Psychology calls optimism this concept where you are thinking things will get better. And I know a lot of people who are optimistic. They are glass half full people. But the resurrection isn't about optimism. It's about living hope. I want to read this to you in 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 3. It says this: "Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. According to his great mercy, he has caused us to be born again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead." Verse 4, it says, "To an inheritance that is imperishable, undefiled, and unfading, kept in heaven for you, who by God's power are being guarded through faith for a salvation ready to be revealed in the last time." We don't have to fear what's coming next because Jesus holds the future. I love that phrase. I don't know what the future holds, but I know who holds the future. We have a living hope thanks to the resurrection of Jesus Christ. We've got problems. We got debts. We don't know what's coming next. Jesus came to fix it all. Trust in him and we will not fall. Easter brings us the solution to our problems, to our debts, and to all the unknowns that we have coming. So let's live this week putting our full trust in Jesus and believing in the resurrection. And let's share our faith with our family and our friends and our neighbors. Again, happy Easter. We will see you next week on The Overtime.